Hey everybody, it's Jamie and welcome to today's video where we're going to be going over a number of updates. We've added a lot of new features and coaching tools, so let's not waste any time. Let's jump right in. Pretty excited about this video. So let's go here. So there's a lot of new stuff here. One thing you'll be able to note when you go through this is we've got a designer on board. You're starting to see what the final game design, or what the launch game design is going to look like. I don't know if this design will ever be final. I think we'll constantly be updating the design. But let's start right here on the mode select page, which is i.e. the account page. And you'll see we have a leaderboard down here. We have an alpha leaderboard. And so what we're doing is we have a geek point system in place. And so every time you finish a game in franchise mode, we've written an algorithm, we're following key things, and we're going to award you a number of geek points at the end of each game based on your coaching decisions. And what we're going to do is keep a running tally down here. We've got the top 5 geek point scores. We literally just launched this, so we've got like 3 folks, including 2 of them, which are my accounts. But you'll always kind of see where you rank as well too. So let's say you rank 12th and you're not in the top 5, you'll see a row down here for your username and your account down here. And then also we will show leaders by team. So you click view leaders by team. You see Tilted is here on Bentley Truman. And then my main account that I'm playing with, a guy from Ajax, has been playing as Morristown. And then I've been, playing as another account to test things as well, Coach JD, Lancaster. So yeah, so it'd be kind of cool. Get a little friendly competition going amongst the community here. Another thing you'll see is we've got a redesigned franchise card. So you'll see what your current record is, what your rank is, who's your next opponent. And so I'm playing against the number 2 ranked team, Chapel Hill, in my next one, and what your prestige score is. I need to give more context to the prestige score. We're vomiting from, or we're drinking from the fire hose, and so there's but we got things coming into place. So, and you'll also notice too, we've given this a pretty significant UX overhaul, and you're going to see green buttons are the action buttons. They're the buttons that move things forward here in the game. So you kind of see there, that's how you enter your franchise. And then up here in the franchise command center, this is how you run your next step. But I want to kind of go through, I'd showed you a lot of things in the franchise command center last time. We've got it not completely fleshed out, but super close. We're like 90% of the way there. We just have a couple more features, frankly, that we need to build. Most notably is the press. We need to get like your press, your beat reporters, your headlines based on each week's games. We'll get that. And then the inbox has a start to it, but it needs more. It needs like a bit of an overhaul. But let's start here. First of all, we've renamed this from home to coach's office. And everything down here is pretty much the same. I think from what you saw last time, we've done a little fine tuning, but overall, yep, it's pretty much what you had and saw before. Roster, pretty much the same, I believe. Same with player stats. These are your player stats for the season. Team measures. So we've updated this a little bit. We have that spider chart now for your team attributes. Because the way these team attributes work, your offense efficiency, your defense efficiency, your fast break or your fast break defense, your press and trap offense or your press and trap defense, and then your discipline in your fight. These all run on scales of -10 to 10. So like 0 is your equilibrium, and your team can be drifted negatively or it can be drifted positively based on that. Shooting, rebounding, and team chemistry are the only 3 team measures that aren't on the -10 to 10 scale. Shooting is on its own scale, but it does have a midpoint. And then rebounding, you're going to see it kind of goes from like 0.00 to 0.04, just with the way, 0.4. And that's kind of the way we've worked that into the code as well. And then team chemistry scales from 1 to 25. And so you'll kind of see here 0.2 is the equilibrium for rebounding. You can see even though I'm 2-0, my team, I'm not coaching them up to be a strong rebounding team, so I'm probably going to make that my focus at my next round of practice. And then honestly, my shooting is not great either. I'm building good intangibles. Like my team's very disciplined, and I'm building pretty good fight with them. My offense efficiency a little bit, but then the rest of my whole like systems are kind of sitting right at equilibrium or just below, including offense. It's like barely above it. So I've got some things to do from a coaching perspective. I'm in week 3 now, so I've run 2 rounds of training, and I've been very focused on developing player attributes versus like coaching, and then obviously like inspiring my team. So I'm kind of driving these intangibles and these player attributes, and then as a result, I'm not leaning into systems as much as I should, or as much as I can. There's no should or shouldn't. It's really all about how you want to coach your team because everything has trade-offs, right? So I've been leaning into player attributes and sort of like inspiration and discipline for my team. And as a result, I'm not getting quite the gains in team attributes. But so far it's working for me. But I'm playing the number 2 team in the nation next. So we'll see how well that holds up. Game plan. So the game plan tab shows you what all of your current game plan settings are. So you see I got normal across the board. I'm running 50-50 motion and set plays, 50-50 half-court sets versus fast breaks, 50-50 man zone, and 50-50 crash the boards versus getting back on D. If you want to edit your game plan, you just click this button, and then this takes you to the edit game plan screen. We've got more dynamic sliders in place. And so I can tell you, I want to pull back my traps and presses a little bit. I want to dial up my inside offense a bit more. And then I will actually, because the way I like to do things is I want to lean more into set plays, at least for training. And I'll show you that. I'm going to max out set plays. And then defensively, I'm going to lean into zone a little bit because then that'll be for training as well. And then crashing the boards versus getting back on D. I like to play it a little bit more conservative, keep my opponents from stealing points via fast breaks. So I will get back on D. And then I like to kind of keep it right in the middle. If I was coaching someone like Four Corners who had better endurance, I'd be leaning more into fast breaks because I want to push the tempo, but I'm leaving this as is. So I'll save my game plan. You'll get a little confirmation down here, and then you go back, and bear with me for 1 second. One thing we're working on is this API for the Franchise Command Center because there's so much data right now. So you might have to do a little bit of a refresh or going from one tab to the next. Because this is launched, by the way. You can play like this. I think by about late this week or next week, we're looking into how can we make this API load for the command center more efficient. So so you can kind of see my settings have changed here, right? So it's 100% set plays for offense, 75% zone, 25% man, and it's showing less, more for my inside offense. All that. So that's game plan, and now playbooks. So this one I'm really excited about. So what you're going to see is we've got these play cards in here, and you're going to see what your effectiveness score is for each play. We also call it command. I got to get consistent with what we're calling it in the UX, UI. We're going to call it command, so I need to change F to command. Your max value for these is going to be 100. Right now, the values do go above 100, but just know that anything above 100 is not having an effect. So this stuff's going to kind of ebb and flow for you, but you kind of see the reason I'm dialing up set plays is because in my next practice, your practice when you run offense install and defense install is synced to your playbook settings. And so I've got my motion offenses pretty high, right? 65, 59, 52. Power forward post motion is only at a 10 right now. But you see my set plays, because there are so many set plays, it's easy to get your command and effectiveness a bit diluted. So you're going to have to bring some strategy to how you want to manage your playbooks, especially when it comes to in-game and training and everything else. And then another thing you note here too is we have who's your top scorer for that play. So you can kind of see Kevin Nelson with 5 points is my top scorer in the 3-2 motion, which makes sense, right? He's my best outside shooter, 3-2 motion. So I got 2 guys inside. It's keeping the defense in, which is opening up outside shots a little bit more. He's also my top scorer in the 5-0 motion, which isn't pulling the defense in, but that's working outside shots in a different way. It's keeping everyone on the outside, and so it's harder for the defense to focus. And then also, Nelson has good agility, and a lot of the three-point shots in the 5-0 motion, guys kind of have to work a little bit, work their feet. It's not like a set shot all the time. A lot of times it's an athlete getting himself into better position. Yeah. So here's man defense. Kind of see I've got that effectiveness command up to a 44. And then my zones are all in the mid-20s, so I might want to dial that up a little bit in practice. And then fast breaks, we haven't wired in the command and effectiveness yet, so don't let that throw you displaying as 0. We're going to have that in there soon. I don't know exactly when, though. And then down here, you've got your command center plays. And then here's a cool thing I want to show you. So we've got these measures in place now to show you the percentage likelihood that each position is going to be shooting the ball based on your offense setting. So the way that I've built my playbook so far, my point guard is really not that involved, 2%. Shooting guard at 33%, small forward 42%. Power forward at 5%, center at 18%. So kind of see the way I've built my playbooks right now is really running through my small forward and shooting guard, which makes sense because I've got Peter Gregory and Kevin Nelson, who are 2 really good scorers, especially on the outside and driving the ball. That being said, the best player on my team is my center, Carlton Bonner. So I'm going to adjust my playbooks and get that dialed up a little bit. And then I've got some pretty good balance here for the play call center plays. If you remember, those are the plays that you put in your play call center to override set plays during gameplay. But I've been kind of doing this strategy, which I stepped away from it, but I'll show you. But I like that because Kwame Caster for power forward for me is a really unique power forward in that he's a good inside defender. He's strong. He's a good rebounder. He's actually not a good inside scorer, but he's a great outside shooter, which actually creates a lot of mismatches. So I actually like to build my command center where I can call plays for him at power forward. So let me show you. You've got an edit playbooks button here in the playbooks command center. And we've got a new, I think, better designed, more intuitive playbook page here. So what you do is, let's say I want to add some different plays to my play call center. They're all listed over here. And so let's say I want to put the base post play in the number 1 position. And let's say I want to get one more post play. I actually got a post play here for my center. So let's just move this up. So I got my 2 inside plays here. I've got a motion play here just to have it. And now I'm going to get the ISO out of there. I'm going to keep the high post clear out for my small forward in here. The drive and dish corner 3 is for Caster. I like that one. Double screen wing 3 is my staple outside shot. I'm going to get rid of the backdoor cut. And what I'm going to do is I want to put this mid-range quick jumper for my power forward in here. And so let's find it. Here it is, quick mid-range jumper. We'll add that. And then what else do I want? Oh, I want the pick and roll from the wing. That's a really good play. So let's find the pick and roll, or from the entry pass. That's a really good play. Yep. So let's do that. Okay. And now one thing though is I want to, because I got 2 for my center, 1 for my shooting guard, 2 for my power forward. I want to get a drive play in for my shooting guard. So what I'm going to do is this high post clear out. I'm actually going to switch that from a small forward focus play to a shooting guard focus play. So here it is, high post clear out. Let's make the shooting guard the target shooter for that. And then another thing I want to do is I do want to play with my playbook percentages. So what you can do in your set plays section is you can click on the percentage. This will sort by percentage. And so backdoor cut, I'm going to dial this down a little bit. And by the way, you always have to have this equal 100. This will tell you your percentages, but your Save Playbooks button will be dead until you can do that. And this message up here in the header will tell you if you have a section that's not ready either, which means it's not equaling 100%. Let's drop the base post play to 15% because I also call that a lot via the play call center. Let's bring the double screen 3 at the wing down to 10 because I also call that a lot. I do like the pick and roll entry pass. Let's keep that at 17. The ISO, which is a drive play for my shooting guard, I like, but let's kind of free up a little space. Let's bring it down to 14. So I got 18 points I can still assign. I want to dial down this misdirection 3 a little bit. That's to get my small forward involved shooting. The drive and dish corner 3 is kind of a niche play for me, so I just like to call that for Kwame versus like programming it with a percentage. I do want to get the high post clear out in here. We'll give that 5%. The high post drive. Now let's get a high post, for my small forward too. And we're going to put that at 10%. So I kind of like having the high post clear out over here. So that's at a lower percentage than the high post drive. But it's also in my play call center, so I can balance that out a little bit. You're going to build your own sort of like approach to your playbooks. And my advice would be to spend a lot of time with these playbooks and really get into like test these, build a playbook that works for you. So muscle post play, I do want to have a post for my power forward just to mix it up a little bit. And then I want to get something for the point guard just because actually the pass and cut would be perfect because Mose is a good driver. You know what? I don't need a muscle post play. Let's take the remaining 9%, make the pass and cut play focus on the point guard, and that's it. Okay, so now what I like to do is I built my percentages. I'll sort again by percentage. And you see my highest percentage is the pick and roll entry pass, which I'm cool with, and then the base post play. Those are two of my staple plays. It's what I like to do. Then I've got the ISO, which is an attack play for my shooting guard. Then I've got the backdoor cut for the small forward, a double screen wing 3, high post drive for the small forward, a misdirection 3 for the small forward. So a heavy small forward. I think I want to get my center more involved, honestly. You know what we're going to do? We're going to pull out this because the high post drive, we're going to zero this out. And we're also going to bring down the pick and roll entry a little bit because I've also have it in the play call center. So I've got 12 remaining. I'm just going to get another post play in here for my center. I like Bonner doesn't have the best agility, so maybe not the movement post play. How about the rotating post play? We'll do that. We'll give him 10%. And then I'm going to do there's a power post play or something stationary. I want to find that one. Muscle. There's a muscle post play. I'm just going to give that 2% for my power forward just to have enough variety to keep the defense guessing in my post plays so they aren't all going to my center. Cool. And then down here, I'm going to dial down the 1-3-1 zone to about a 10%. I'm going to dial up the 2-3 to about 50. And we're going to go 3-2 at 40. And one thing to note, we've updated the code so the 2-3 is super effective against inside shots and attack shots. But then as a trade-off, it's significantly less effective against outside shots. And now obviously your players impact that as well too. So if they can get there, if you have good athletes, defenders, and agility guys on the outside, they're going to kind of make up for any, for some of the deficiency in a 2-3 zone. And then conversely, the 3-2, really over-indexes strongly against outside shots as its base. It's weaker against inside shots and a bit weaker against attack shots. But again, if you've got like the right players in place, it can kind of help mitigate that a little bit. You got your effectiveness command here. Again, I just need to call that command universally here. And then my fast break plays, I'm going to dial up the triangle to 50%. And I'm going to give the covert release 50% because Hawkins is really smart and he's really good about getting back there and sneaking his way into some points. And then I'm going to put the triangle at 30 and the rim runner at 20. Okay, and so now we save the playbooks, and now the message will show you your new percentages. So you can kind of see from my playbooks, it's still running mainly through my small forward and my shooting guard, but I've dialed up my center significantly, which is good. My point guard has a bit more love, and my power forward. Play call center, though, you see, because I like to call plays for Kwame at power forward. So you see that's dialed up a lot more. The center's, pretty consistent. I actually have a lot less going through the small forward and most of my play call center going through my shooting guard. So you can kind of see my strategy here is going to be, as the system, my assistant coach, the sim is calling my plays for me based on my settings. Let's run it through my three main guys here. And then when I want to call specific stuff, I can call in sort of like my unique matchup advantage at power forward, but I've still got my two, best offensive scorers, which is Nelson, who usually plays shooting guard, and Bonner at center in my play call center. All right, so that's playbook settings. One thing to note, I got all the back buttons up here. I'm kind of playing with this. Tell me in the comments as you're testing this, does this location work for you? I've thought about putting the back button right below these. The orange buttons are key buttons and the green buttons are action buttons. I've thought about doing that, but we shall see. Let's go to scouting report next. So this gives you details on who you're going to be. I actually probably should have looked at all this before I set my playbooks and game plan, but I'm kind of going through these just in order of the tabs for you as I introduce them. But here you can see who your upcoming opponent is, what's their record, what's their national rank. I've got a big game ahead of me. Who is their projected starting five? You kind of see they've got their best players, this guy Eugene Johnston, who's an 84 rated shooting guard. He can play anywhere, though. I mean, he's got 8 scoring, 9 shooting, 7 inside defense, 8 outside defense. He's a really good athlete, too. Oh, he's strong, but at a 7 strength, but his agility's a 5. He's super smart. Yeah. And then, so it looks like their weakness is their point guard, but they actually play Johnston at point guard, too. They kind of move him around a lot. I've played Chapel Hill quite a few times. So their spider chart, you can see them. So again, they're also really good on fight and discipline. They do have a pretty good press trap offense, or it's becoming good. So I'll probably press and trap a little bit less. And it looks like they've been kind of like pushing out their press traps and their fast breaks a little bit. They have really strong chemistry. And then I need to wire play usage for non-conference teams. We're going to get that in here shortly. Standings. So you can kind of see your conference standings and your sister conference standings. So you can kind of see I'm 2-0 right now. I'm ranked number 22. Four Corners is ranked 15th. Bentley Truman's ranked 4th. And then our sister conference, there's the number 2 and 9 rated teams. So a lot of good competition in these two conferences for my instance. And you can see full national standings here if you click it. And this will take you, and you can see all 16 conferences, and you can look at things. And if you want to like study a team, like who's ranked number 1? Lawrence. If you want to look at their roster, you can look at Lawrence here and kind of go through all their stuff, all their players, and see all their players' stats and everything else. And everything's clickable and sortable. So you can study for hours. And let's go back to the locker room. Now we'll go back to the locker room and schedule. So here, it's loading your schedule, and this will be your schedule, your team schedule. You see both of your results and your upcoming games. So, yeah, you can study that. And if you want to see the full national schedule, you click this link down here, and it's got every week's games. It just kind of lists the top 8 games. And then if you want to see all the games for that week, you just click this and it'll expand it. And you can see them all. And you can see all their box scores. Again, you can study as much as you want. Like, I love this stuff. I love going into all this. Yeah, team stats. This will load up the conference team stats. And if you want to see all team stats, you click the link down at the bottom. And then you can look at them by conference within your region or national and see all team stats. Okay, leaders. So this will show you the conference leaders, top 5 in every category. We've added a couple more. We've added field goal percentage, and there's a minimum requirement. So they have to have like X number of shots attempted per game to qualify. And then defense percentage. And the same thing, they have to have X number of defensive attempts each game. But it's pretty cool. This will start to give you a sense for who the best defenders are. And not a surprise, Lancaster has 3 of the top 5. They have Kahn, Struthers, and Henrik, all sitting at 2, 3, and 4. So that's leaders, and you can see broader leaders here. So if you click on the link below that, this will expand it to the top 10. And then you can see it by your conference, by your region. So layer in your sister conference and your conference, or you can look nationally as well too. So I like to look, like, for example, here's a guy from Charles Black, is number 6 in the nation. He's from Four Corners. So I kind of like to go through here and see who from my conference is in the top 10 from an individual standpoint. Doesn't look like we have many. Defense percentage, that's one thing we still need to work on nationally. Oh, but Mose from my team leads the nation in steals. He's got 8 steals. Pretty significantly, actually. And then Struthers from Lancaster's number 4 in rebounds. Interesting. So yeah, so you can have a lot of fun with this. Press, we need to wire. And then recruits, this will track the recruits who are declared they're leaning to your program. I don't have any yet. I need to rework that logic a little bit. And then here's the national recruits. And yeah. Oh, and then we've got, the way we have it is we have a container. We have them sorted by region. So like we're region A. That's who you play as. And so these are all the recruits from region A. They're default sorted by rating, but you can also, like, who's the best rebounder, who's the best outside defender, who's the tallest. You know, you can kind of look at all of these. And then you can also scroll down and look at other regions as well too. It's got every region's recruits, A through H, in here. So again, just more stuff you can study. Because that's what hardcore sports sim gamers love to do. And then lastly, inbox. So right now, this is kind of bare. We're going to be getting more in here. We're working on the whole inbox system. But right now, what you get is every time a game completes, you've got a link to your box score, so you can go look at the box score. And by the way, check out the new box score design. I'll just show this to you since I'm here. So we've got, you see I won this game 52-51. Actually, a guy from my opponent's team, even though I won, Derek Smith, got player of the game. And then we've got the team tabs here. And then one thing that's pretty cool is we've got a cleaner design down here, so it's going to be easier for you to study your notes. So we've got all offense play calls here, so you can kind of see motion, set plays, and then like with an inside focus versus man and zone, attack and outside, all versus man and zone. And then defensively, you've got your man and zone defense, how they do versus motion, how they do versus set play, and then also versus inside versus attack versus outside. And then one thing you can kind of look at here too, if you remember, this is EV is expected value. So that's what the expectation is for the result of each turn. That you have that defense called against the offense based on the play calls and the strategy or the personnel that's on the court But then execution is then how it's actually executed. And so what you want to see is you want to see higher values on execution than EV. That means your team is out executing your expected value. So like, for example, on offense, motion, we are actually underperforming our expected value, but not by much. That's like a delta of 10 total, +6 to -4. Set plays, though, we actually did really well. We were expected to perform -27%, but we were pretty much even. So that's a big deal. And then defensively, our man defense outperformed. We were at a -15 EV and hit a +9, but our zone defense underperformed. We were at a +27 EV and we executed right at flat 0. And then each of the zone plays, you kind of see right here. It's interesting. It looks like the biggest culprit to my under execution was the 1-3-1 zone. Yeah. And then we got, traps. I was success 3 of 8, full court presses 1 of 6, actually not that good of rates. And then my fast breaks, I ran a lot of them and only had a 25% success rate. My rim runner was 0 for 4. My covert release was 2 of 7. And then my triangle was 1 of 4. And then my after steal was perfect, 1 of 1. And then down here, we have shows you how your team attributes have changed after the game. And so one thing to note, the general rule on most team attributes is they are going to decrease after the game, and you can work on increasing them in training. And the reason is things like your offense efficiency, your defense efficiency, your fast break defense, your press trap offense. The reason that's all decreasing after a game is because you're putting stuff on tape for your opponents to study. And so one thing you're going to see is the more diversity you have in play calling, the less this type of stuff's going to decrease. But you don't want to force diversity in play calling too much to the point that you're not running plays that your team doesn't have strong command of. So it's going to be a balance, right? Like, what do you want to do as a coach? Discipline, fight. Well, let me start. Team chemistry is really going to be dependent on if you win or lose, and then the quality of your opponent with the win and loss and everything else. So you kind of see I won this game by 1 point, and I got kind of a little boost in my team chemistry. Discipline and fight is not about putting stuff on tape. This is more about like how your team performs and how your team reacts to certain situations. And what you'll see is if they run a lot of, say they do a good job of not committing a lot of fouls and not committing a lot of turnovers, that's going to increase their discipline because it's reinforcing their belief that they're a highly disciplined team. And then the same thing with fight. There's going to be things in here like, let's say you're trailing heading into the fourth quarter and you win the game. It's going to be things like that you're going to notice an increase in your fight. If you're leading going into the fourth quarter and you lose the game, then you're probably going to see a bit of a drop in your fight. Now, that's not the only variable, but it's that intangible stuff like that. And then shooting is going to be kind of similar to putting stuff on tape, shooting and rebounding. And so it's just like the more instances there are with that. And also, if you don't mix the ball around very much, that's going to lead to, like, if you have just like 2 or 3 players taking the majority of your shots, that's going to hurt your shooting for that game. But again, all of these decreases from the game are stuff you can overcome or gain back in training. But yeah, I'm going to have to do probably a deep dive video on team attributes because they're a pretty complex but exciting component to this. So that's the box score. And then you can also in the inbox see your most recent training report. So I had my week 2 training report, and here's the redesigned training report grid. I want to get more information and more data in here because there's a lot happening in training. But right now, what we have is you get your practice player of the week, who is your best performing player. So it was Mose Hawkins. Who was like the poorest performing, the biggest regressor? It was Michael Garza. And then who had the most positive impact on the locker room, which was Garza. So he didn't have a good week of practice, but he's a good influence in the locker room. So you kind of see here, this is strong cumulative increase. And like I said, I'm really focusing on driving up my player attributes right now. So I had strong increases in ball handling, free throw, inside defense, IQ, outside defense. I didn't have any concerning regressions. Right now, my strongest defensive set is man. My strongest offensive plays are the 3 core motion plays. These are the things my team has best command of. My fast break readiness is strong. Essentially, you have very strong, strong, neutral, poor, very poor are the 5 different measures you can have on that. And then press trap readiness is neutral. And that's for both offense and defense on both sides, press traps and fast breaks. And those do kind of play off each other a little bit. It's more of a mindset thing for your team. Down here in the player report, you can see the training changes for your players per each attribute. So like Kevin Nelson had a +5 in outside defense. That's nice. Who was my Mose was my practice player of the week. So yeah, I mean, he just had a consistent thing across the board. Nothing too stellar, but yeah, I mean, not bad. And then Garza struggled. Yeah, look at that. He was -4 in agility, -3 in endurance. So he had a bad week physically. You can also just look at your player attributes and kind of see what their overall attributes are after training. Then you have your team report. This shows you the impact that we had on the team attributes. So like I said, the majority of your team attributes are going to decrease from gameplay, but then you can increase them in training. Now, I didn't focus as much on systems as I could have, so I still had a decrease in my defense efficiency, a decrease in my rebounding, which does need a big boost. I'm going to focus on rebounding. And then it gives you, in my next training, I'm going to focus on rebounding. And then it gives you your projected starting 5 here. And this is just the Sims recommendation, but you obviously should get a feel for how you want to coach your team. For example, I like to play Bonner at center. I like to run everything through center. I think he's like a 91 rated center and a 92 rated power forward. And then it's got the season stats if you want to see that for the projected 5. And then down here, it shows the gains that we had in the playbooks. And so you kind of see I ran a lot of motion offense in the playbook last time. And so I'm focusing more on set plays this time. That's why I set my set plays to 100%. And then defense, I didn't really run any defense install last time, so I did have some regression in my defenses across the board. So I'm going to have to probably focus on that a little bit. Okay. What else did I want? Oh, and then I also want to show you the new player cards. So if you click on a player, you can see his player card. And you see how we've got this outlined here. So you got his year, jersey number, height, weight, his overall rating. You see all of his position ratings here. And like I said, yeah, Bonner's a 92 power forward, but he's a 91 center. It shows you where their attitude and momentum is at for the moment. Again, I need to fine-tune player momentum. That's going to be more of a during the game stat or attribute. And then up here, we've got their attributes. And one thing to note is we're adding a color coding scheme. So any attributes that are 4 or less will display in red, I believe. Or maybe, no, it's 2 or less. 2 or less is red. And then, because that's 0 to, I think, 20. And then 21 to 40 is yellow. I forget the exact range, honestly. I have to go back and look at my documentation. But essentially your progression is red, bad, yellow, average, green, good, blue, awesome is the way to think about it. And so, yeah. Well, these are on the same scale, yeah. So red might go up to 40, actually. Yeah, and then yellow starts at 40 and goes to 60. Then I think 60 to 80 is green. And then blue is 81 and above. Yeah, including anything over 100. And then you've got your player season stats down here. And as you play more seasons, it's going to stack these. So you'll see all of his past season stats as well, too. All right. I think that's that. And then I'm going to run a training, and then I just want to show you guys the new lineup screen, and then I think we'll call it a video. So I just kind of auto-train just to kind of get the initial put out there, and then I know what I want to do. I want to dial up the offense install. I'm going to dial back on my press trap offense, And I'm not going to be running many press traps this week. I'm just dialing back on the presses and traps. I want to dial up my scrimmage and my offense install, because scrimmage is a great way then to practice my offense and defense install. One thing to note right now, you can only run towards your current playbooks, but we're going to build an ability to do a custom practice playbook. So if you want to focus on like 3, 4, or 5 plays for your offense and defense install, you can do that. That's coming. It's just not here yet. So I've been focusing a lot on player attributes. So let's maybe just bring everything down to a 1 and see how this looks. Except rebounding. I do want to dial up rebounding and therefore strength, I think. So I want to get breaks up to 2. And I want to keep film study at 2 because my opponent played a game last week, so they have stuff on tape. So my focus for this week is going to be rebounding. So again, your coaching style focus is just kind of like what you are verbally and mentally and emotionally focused on pounding into your players' heads during that week of practice. And so we need to improve our rebounding. So I'm going to submit training. I feel good about this one. Offense install and rebounding. And then we're executing training. So one thing we're working on, and we'll have this, I don't know how soon, but hopefully soon, to where you won't just have this, your team is executing training, but we're going to be feeding training notes. So kind of like hints as to who's having good drills or good scrimmage performances and who's not. And so that will all be programmed into here in the very near future. But we'll just give this a minute. Just play the Jeopardy music in your head. There we go. Okay, so this training report. Okay, Kevin Nelson was my practice player of the week. Ernie had the best. Yeah, I mean, he's the number 12 player on my roster. I'm not concerned about it. But it's interesting. Look at this. So I focused less on player attributes, and I had some concerning regression in inside defense and passing. Rebounding, and I need to fix that. That needs to be strength, not steals. Development team got that one wrong. And then basketball IQ all worked. And then my fast break readiness is neutral now. And my press trap is weak because I dialed everything back, right? And so I just have weak press trap readiness now because I zeroed both of those out in the install. Let's take a look. So rebounding, Kevin Nelson had a nice +8. Jesse Jameson is my backup center at a +7. That's pretty significant. What's he at now? His rebounding is a 7. Oh, no, that's his strength. His rebounding is a 56. Nice. What the heck? See, I focus on rebounding. I don't know why the heck. Sometimes, I mean, these are humans you're working with, right? So sometimes your strategy doesn't always, it's going to pay off more times than not, but it's not 100% guaranteed. I'm a bit frustrated, honestly. My chemistry went up by 2. My offense efficiency went up by 3. You see, because I was heavy on that, so at least that paid off for me. And my press trap breaks went down by 2. And look at my press traps went down by 1, right? Because I didn't really focus on it at all. I zeroed them both out. And then playbook summary. So my motion stuff dropped a bit, but that's fine because they've got still strong command. And you kind of see now I'm starting to build up command in some of these set plays. But again, that's why I want to build that custom practice playbook feature, because I would love to pick like base post play, double screen wing, 3 for the wing, and a couple others and give those like a huge boost because they're like my foundational plays. And then defensively, I got a +14 in man, 3-2, and 2-3 zone. Nice. Okay. So we'll go to the locker room. And then this would be the link to the new week 3 training report. And we're ready. So I'm not going to play the next game, but I am going to show. Oh, here's my new spider chart after training. So super disciplined, which means I can play some more aggressive type sets and strategies, and the fight as well too, and the fast break defense and the offense. So I'm starting to kind of spider out a little bit, but the press traps and the defense is kind of not great. Last thing I want to show you. Oh, actually, I want to show you one other thing. There's a fun little feature here, depending on what team you're playing as. You can keep the display at default, which is this blue, or you can make it your team colors, which might be a little obnoxious, but now your whole experience can be in red with a red background. If you're playing with Xavier, it's green. Four Corners, it's the tan. Lancaster, it's orange. So you can kind of set that however you want. If that's too much, you can always go back to the default. It's kind of like a fun little thing we put in here. And when you're playing the game now, what you're going to see is based on your playbooks, you've got these percentages down here. So as you're building your lineup, you know who you're putting into positions that are going to be programmed to be getting the ball, especially based on your playbook settings, but also your play call center settings. This is a brand new, I think more intuitive and easy to follow lineup screen. We still got the auto set lineup feature, and then I like to kind of clean that up with my usual system. And then you cannot edit playbooks during gameplay, but you can look at them. So you can see what you have during gameplay. So this will just kind of remind you of what your settings are if you want to study that. You can edit your game plan during gameplay, though. So if you want to like make adjustments to the game plan, I think what we're going to do is put a feature in here where at halftime you can edit your playbooks, but we haven't got that built in yet. Because that's the whole point of building your playbooks before the game. And then you just go play the game and things are ready. So I'm going to pause there. That was a ton. But I don't know. I hope you're all excited about these new features. We certainly are. And if you have any comments, thoughts, obviously leave them down below. We'd love to hear from you. And yeah, we're going to keep grinding. And I look forward to sharing next week's update. So we're getting closer and closer to beta time. And also, I'm going to be looking for all of you in the leaderboard. So, okay, thanks so much. As usual, thanks so much for watching the video. Have a great week, and we will talk to you next week. Bye-bye.